And this was the question that Paramahansa Yoganandaji answered. You can see in the chant that we did today, joy, joy, ever new joy. This was words of Guruji from his poem Samadhi. You listen to and think about the various chants he has. I am Om, I am the bubble, make me the sea, I am the sky. Swamiji's from joy I came, for joy I live. All these wonderful affirmative chants about who we are in our essence. And Yoganandaji would, when he gave his lectures in America, he would run. He wouldn't walk often. He would run onto the platform. So magnetic and so enthusiastic and inspired. And he would shout out to the audience, how feels everybody? And then he would make people shout back. What would they say?
Awake and ready.
Yeah, one person said. So everybody would shout, awake and ready. Then he says, how is everybody? And people would say, awake and ready. And only then would he begin to talk about God. And also he chanted with people. He chanted once for a long period of time. For an hour and a half, one chant, over and over, the same words. Now we chanted for 3-5 minutes. Can you imagine that long chanting to God? And he had people doing affirmations like we did today. Affirmations and chanting was a big part, is a big part of Paramahansa Yoganandaji's path. To affirm that you are the soul. If you can't hear me from the competition, come closer up to the front if you need to. I can only talk so loud, and it could get loud downstairs. But Guruji emphasized that we are not this body, we are not this personality. In every lifetime you have a different body, you have a different personality. You're from India, you're from America, you're black, you're white, you're red, you're green, you're from Mars, whatever, but you're a completely different person. But we get attached to this little form, and this is who we are. But at the end of this existence, it's ash. Everything goes back to dust. And we have to realize that this body is carrying our soul. And we are the soul. We're not this little body and these little problems and worries. And everything we do in yoga is we're trying to break out of this little existence that we have. There's a beautiful story of a man who he was a devotee, another path. He would toss the flower petals on the image of his guru, like we have Guruji's picture here. So whenever he meditated, afterwards or before, I don't know when, but he would just, with adoration and love for his master, he would toss the petals of the flowers. One day, he went into ecstasy. He went into deep super consciousness. In God consciousness. He went into the light himself. He went into the Om, he went into bliss. And he said, I've been tossing petals on another's image. He began to toss them on his own head, not in an egoic way, but saying, what's in my master is the same as within me. The spark of God, a master would say, like the flames on a burner, a gas burner, the flames coming out of each of those holes there. It was like each one of us are like one of those flames, or the waves on the ocean. Each one of us are those waves. But we think that we're not a part of the ocean, we're not a part of this, we're on our own. And this man realized it in a moment. This is what yoga comes to bring. You, what's in you. It's the same that's in your Guru, and the Masters, and Krishna, and Christ, and Buddha, and Patanjali, and Arjuna. That same spark, but we have become hypnotized that, no, I am different. And Master came to bring the teachings of how to realize, no, you are the sky, you are Om, you are joy, you are peace, you are love, you are light. That's the essence of your being. And Guruji, he met people when he came to America. He met people who had the wrong impression of this teaching that I am one with spirit or whatever. Because Master said, Self-realization is the knowing in every part of your whole being that you are a part of God. Isn't that a wonderful thought? That's what self-realization is. That's what we are practicing. You are a part of God. You don't have to do anything. You have to remember. You have to realize. You have to remember that that's who and what you really are. You don't have to make yourself into that. You remember, smriti, I am that oneness with God already. But Master met other people who had different impression of it. In India and America, he said it's 50-50, ignorance is everywhere. And there was a man in the US who, Father Divine, I think was his name. He was in Los Angeles, I believe. And he said he was God. I mean, it wasn't, he was one with God, or he was a part of God. And the back of his chair had God. He was well known in those days and drew huge crowds, but he was God. And Master would just, he called the doctor, people at DD, Doctor of Delusion, that people were in delusion. And he met a man in India who was a guru, and he said he was God. And Master, as a boy, went to visit him, and the man just, God, God. Master, as a boy, he carried a mirror. Now, why he carried the mirror, I don't know. He pulled the mirror out in front of this grown man, this yogi, guru, and he put the mirror in his face. He said, that's not the God I'm looking for. He said, that's not God's face. And the man was humbled. And he came and bowed at his feet, and he said, thank you for taking me out of this delusion. As a boy, he changed people. And so, when we look at this topic of how we are one with everything, it's such a wonderful freeing. We have to feel freedom on the path. You don't see anybody at Ananda going around saying, yes, I guess there's joy somewhere. You know? You see people who are happy, people who are ever free. Their spines are straight. They're energetic, magnetic. I've seen people who first came to Raja Yoga class. Did I tell this last time? It's just a great story. So I would take their picture. Now today, Devendra's doing a chakras class, and he's taking a picture of your aura if you really want to know what's going on. But I would just take the photograph of the person at the beginning of the course, 3 months later at the end, and show them the pictures. Astounding, astounding changes in the face, in the smile, and the wrinkles on the forehead were dissolved, and the joy that people felt. This is the proof of yoga. And what's so amazing is that people, the worldly way is to think that I'm this personality, I'm this body, I have a job, this is my home, this is my family, this is all that I am, this is all that I have. That's the worldly way. And then we add more and more and more things to these self-definitions. I am black, I am white, I am this, I am that. And it creates more and more and more attachment to the body, attachment to ego, attachment to this lifetime. And what yogis try to do and what yoga teaches is to get out, go the other way. But in life, it's an interesting thought. We get more and more and more and more entangled. I am this, I am that, I am good, I am famous, everybody likes my work, I'm a good singer, I'm a soprano, I'm a whatever. And we just keep wrapping those threads around this little body and making it big more and more and more who and what we really are. I was, the other night, as you all know, here, we were on the wedding route as we were living at the Guru Prim house, and October, November, December, January, I mean, it kept going on. Almost every third night there was a wedding. And I went, oh my gosh, you know, and you could just start hearing it from way down the street to get louder and louder. So anyway, we moved, you know. Today's the dedication of the new ashram. So the other night, I've been there for maybe 2 nights, and Devendra was there maybe the first night or second night. And what do we hear? But a wedding coming down the street. I said, oh my God, we're on the wedding route again. So we were near the community center, phase 1. So it made me think, because I mean, I had all the doors closed, I had the fans going, you know, it was so loud. I might as well have been in the wedding. It was so loud. And I thought, this is just the opposite of what yoga tries to do. Now, I'm not putting the wedding down, believe me. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, everybody's happy and joyful, but this is, they call it the barat, what is it? With the drums, and those drums were loud, and everybody's drinking, and you know, and I just thought, this is just the opposite, you know? This is pulling you out, out, out. Come on, out, out, further out. Go out into the senses, out. And I could hear people shouting, and you know, it just kept going on and on. And then what happened? The fireworks, boom, 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 boom. So this is how most people live. They live for that excitement. How can I get more excited? How can I get more drawn into the, you know, this life and the things of the world? And you know, it just made me think about it. Yoga, the yogi goes in the opposite direction. No? You go in the opposite direction. How can I go within myself and discover what's in myself? And I remember a Raja Yoga class I had some time back. I don't know if you were in that. No, you all started here, but Shama, you may have been in that class. Suman, maybe. But at first class, I didn't know anybody. And they had been in the level 1, and so very nice group of people, though. So I came there, and I looked at everybody, and I said, I have one question to ask you. And I said, the question is, this is the very first class, I said, who are you? Were you in that class? And everyone went, oh my God, who is this teacher? And I just didn't say anything. I just waited, and one person said, well, I work at the bank, or I'm from Calcutta, or I said, no, I don't want to hear that. Who are you? So that went on for a while, and people were like, so I said, no, I want to hear, who are you? So finally, someone said in the back, I'm a soul. You know? Someone else said, I'm a part of God. You know, this little voice coming up, I'm part of spirit, you know, I'm my higher self, and the real answer started coming out. And I said, now that's what yoga is about. Discovery of who you really are. If you want to be in this class, answer the question, who are you? We went 3 months like that. You know, but what a wonderful thing to really pull out of people who and what they really are. I remember in America once, one of my friends, Durga, for those who know, this was many years ago, she had given me this book on, I think it was George Washington Carver, a wonderful scientist who discovered, remember we talked about him, the many usages for the peanut. I'll get closer. So anyway, he was African American. So Durga, in her kind-heartedness, and you know, she gave me that book, and we were in Swamiji's kitchen at Crystal Hermitage, at his home. So she said, oh, I think, Dhyana, you're going to like this book. I said, great. So I'd have the book. And so then Swamiji comes in the room, and he says, oh, what's going on? And I knew I was in trouble then. And Durga says, well, I just gave Dhyana a book about her people. He went, who are your people? And I said, I don't know. But he just went, bing! You know, don't get attached. I'm this, I'm that. As you meditate, don't you feel you start breaking out of these self-definitions as you travel, just traveling. You see people of other countries speaking different languages, different colors, different cultures, and you start to expand and break out of the little self as you begin to do practices of pranayama. You begin to be more free. You break out as you learn other languages. Swamiji spoke 8 different languages. And he encouraged us here, well, there's nobody left but me now, but he encouraged Americans to learn the language. Same in Italy, encourages learn the language. Now one thing about the language is what? It breaks you out. It makes you more expansive. You meet other people, you can talk to other people, it makes you more expansive. And so in all these ways we begin to break that little shell of who and what we think we are. What a wonderful feeling that is when you can break out. And then you realize that what really can flow through you when all those blocks of who and what you think you are have started to be removed, like Patanjali said, yoga is smriti, taking away everything that you're not. And then you see that you are the spark of the infinite. You are the spark of God. Swamiji said you go to school to learn, you come to yoga, unlearn. Take it away, take it away. Take everything away that you're not. And you know, we are attached to looking beautiful, and my hair, you know, and all these things, and I have to have the right outfit on, and I mean, it goes on and on and on. The final analysis is nobody there. It's just that soul communing with God. And so we realize as we break out, what happens? This is a wonderful thing to remember. The flow of God's grace, energy, joy begins to come into you more. As long as you're thinking, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, there's no room for God. When you say, I am thine, be thou mine, I want to be one with thee, you open yourself, and then the flow of grace begins to happen, and you begin to change. And you know the story of Swamiji when he said, Master said, always let God speak through you, because it's God who's coming through you. Allow God to speak. And Swamiji said, okay, I'll do that. And so he stood and he waited, and nothing happened. He waited because, you know, he had to help God. God couldn't do it all himself. So he waited. He kept thinking, okay, come on, God, say something, say something. He waited 2 minutes, say something. Nothing happened until he began. With his voice, God used him, and he began to speak. And he realized that it was the divine power plus his own will, that brought the flow of God's grace. So God can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. But together, that wonderful energy begins to flow through us. There was a man who was not the spastic, but this man had double curvature of his spine. He was a disciple of Guruji. And you have to realize what's flowing through you is the divine power. With the use of your own will, my own but God-given will, power and energy. So this man, Master told him he was ill, you know, and you know how we all get sort of ill in one way or another, but if you just keep drawing on God's power, you get well pretty soon. So this man, Master told him, don't think about yourself, the little self. I want to give you this job. So otherwise the man's in bed, you know, whole life probably in bed. Master gave him the job. Now he could barely walk. To get off of the bed, he had to roll himself till he rolled off. And then he could barely stand up. Guruji gave him a job. Now why did he give him this job? I'll tell you the job in a minute. But he gave him the job so he wouldn't think about himself. So he gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So he could flow through him. So he gave him the job of driving a tractor. Wow, that's incredible. Driving a tractor, you can't even get out of bed? So he puts the man on the tractor and he drives the tractor and he's getting stronger. He's getting stronger by the day. Every time he does what God asks him, Divine Mother and Master, he's getting stronger, he's getting stronger. Then one day comes and somebody says, why are you driving a tractor? Your back must be hurting. You're ill. This is what happens, no? And he said, yes, I'm ill. This is what you do. You buy into the little self. Guruji said to Swamiji, even if you are ill, just say, my body needs rest. My body needs some time, whatever, not I'm. The soul is ever free, ever diseaseless, ever in light, ever in bliss, ever in Om, always. And so this man, he goes back to bed. Wow. Master said, okay, I just tried to make him more comfortable. And so what happens? He gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. Then he left. Now what happened? The divine energy was flowing through him. He was open, he was willing, he was enthusiastic. Then he shifted, and his own little energy was flowing through, and it got weaker and weaker and weaker. This is what happens. If we affirm that it's God's energy flowing through us, and we allow that to happen, what a wonderful thing will happen. Master said, the greater the will. What does will really mean? The greater the willingness, the greater the creative power, the greater the inspiration, the greater the joy, the greater the magnetism, the greater the will, the greater God will, more energy will come through you, the greater the flow of the energy. And it's that energy that expands you, that makes you more inspiring, that makes you more magnetic, that strengthens you, that makes you more courageous. That's the flow of God into each one of us. And so who and what we really are is divine consciousness, divine joy, divine love, divine light. But you have to ignite that. Master said the path is 25% the disciples' effort. We were talking about this in the class yesterday. Now 25%, what does that mean? That means you got to put everything you've got. You can't say 25, 75 is coming. You have to say, no, I'm going to do everything I can. No, we can't even vouch for that 25%. 25% is the Guru's efforts on the behalf of the disciple. Now let's look at that. Does that mean it's automatic? Absolutely not. Is it automatic? No. That means you have to draw through your own magnetism, through your desire, through your efforts, through your will. You draw the power of the Master. You draw his energy, his enthusiasm through you. Now what about the 50% grace of God? Is it automatic? Absolutely not. People sit in the chair, God will help me. Well, just keep waiting. Remember some ladies they always used to leave their disciples, always used to leave their car open, and Master kept telling them, lock your cars. No, Guruji, we know you're protecting us. He says, no, I'm not. So somebody stole their things. Use common sense. He's helping me. No, he's not. You have to put out the energy. So what is that 50% God's grace means? It means I'm open, I'm receptive, I'm interested, I'm magnetically drawing that grace. I'm uplifted, I'm loading my hands up, pulling that grace down. It's not, yes, it will come. Well, it'll never come. So that has to be dynamic, active. And Master was ever active. You have to get off of the chair. This is what I want to say. And I recall we were in Italy. Swamiji was, he had ideas all the time, and we didn't know what was going on. We were new. I may have told you this, but it's worth repeating. So I was in my late 20s at the time. I was completely confused, just totally. And I didn't even know how I got there, why I was there, but I was always willing. I put that out, I was willing. And so every week on a Monday, Swamiji would phone us from America. So he was in America, and this small band of disciples were in Italy with nothing, going on, and nobody was there. it was a pretty lonely life. There wasn't much food because there was no money and because no people, and it just went on, and it was freezing cold because we were in a summer house in the mountains, and most of the time it was really cold there. So I remember on the altar there was, in Italy, there's holy water on every altar, and the people would go up with the holy water and bless themselves afterwards. And it always remained a chunk of ice. It just never melted. It was always so cold. It always remained a chunk of ice. And every meditation, you're just like, you're freezing. I remember Swamiji, November, Thanksgiving, he was there with us, and we were all in the temple. By then there were maybe 8 or 10 people, all sort of frozen. And so I remember Swamiji wanted to meditate with us because it was Thanksgiving, and we were so depressed. So anyway, we had the blanket. I had this big blanket over like this, and Swamiji he was sitting in the front, and he was the captain, you know. And then we were all. He said, "Remember, be thankful for everything. It all comes from God." At that point, I mean, we could barely eat. We didn't know. There was no communication, internet, and this was in '84. There were no computers. You know, there was one phone on the wall. If you dare pick that phone up, it was $3 a minute to call America. So nobody ever picked up the phone. And it was just a very reclusive, lonely life. But so Swamiji says, be thankful for everything. Now, he was leaving in 3 days. We were going to stand there. I was under the blanket, I was crying my eyes out. How can you say be thankful for this? But what he was doing was strengthening us. And so anyway, on Mondays, he would call up, and we would be in bed, and 7 o'clock, I was still knocked out. And now I get up much earlier, but then I was just like, oh God, that's Swamiji on the phone. You knew it was him because it was Monday at 7 a.m. And so everybody was just, so somebody had to get up and get to the phone. I just would just get myself out of the bed and go down the stairs and get the phone. Hello? Swamiji, every time, he was always so affirmative. He'd say, how are you? Just like that, loudly in the phone. And I said, I'm doing fine, Swamiji. He would say, give me the next person. And the next person goes, how are you? And that went on like however many people, and everybody was barely awake. I'm doing fine, Swamiji. But he was just trying to keep our energy up, stay inspired. Get up in the morning, get energized, get yourself going. And with that motley crew, that little crew of people, he's trying to found a work in Europe. We're just barely there. But by Master's grace, Swamiji's direction, the grace of God, we kept working at it, kept going, and everything is beautiful there now. But it wasn't easy from the beginning. We had to let Divine Mother come in. And I realized when Swamiji was leaving us in Italy, after he'd been there training us for a couple of months, and he said, he left, he was leaving, we were at the airport, and I looked at him, I said, Swamiji, I said, what do we do now? I mean, he didn't leave a plan, he didn't sit us down and say, no, I want you to do this. He just said, okay, I'm going back to America. And I just started crying. I said, where are you going? Why are you going? And then I said, what are we supposed to do now? And he said something I'll never forget. He says, Dhyana, there was 4 of us at the time. He said, tune in to Master and Divine Mother, and you will know what to do. And he left. Wow. And I realized I didn't even know what tune in meant. I didn't know what it meant. I knew I did was barely energizing. I said, at least start with that. At least energize every day. My meditations were shaky. I said, at least I have to meditate regularly. I never was chanting. At least get on the harmonium. What about all those books? I haven't read all those books. At least start reading the books. You understand? So little by little, I gained strength. And I felt Master begin to come into me, and he began to work through me. But I had to open myself up. I had to work at it. It wasn't like, yes, Master will start a work in Italy through us. How? It was impossible. Get in tune. Become magnetic. Become energized. Have success consciousness. Be inspired. Once that began to happen, then things started happening. People started coming. You know, our first retreat there was 6 of the acharyas and 6 guests, and that was it. But then it started growing, growing, growing. But it all happened because we let go. We learned a language. I spoke Italian even if I didn't know what I was saying. You know, I'm sure they didn't know either, but at a certain point you just start talking, and then Master gave you the words. We lectured in Italian. We met the people, traveled around Italy, and that's how we had to let go. Swamiji said, one thing is don't make this retreat like the one in America. Well, that's all we knew. Don't make it like that. Tune in. Be free. Be new. Understand what Master wants. Be inspired. Understand from inside. And that's what happened there. That's what's going to happen in every person's life. As you tune in and you let go, this is who I am. This is how it should be. This is how it always was. You know, and as you say, no, I step into my new life now. God, good. What a beautiful thing. When I left my home, I was my early 20s. My family, they put up with a lot, I have to say. They said, when I packed up my Volkswagen car, and all my worldly possessions, meaning I didn't have much, thank God, even then. I packed up my car, and I had been to Ananda once, and I was going now to live. And I told my family that I said, well, bye-bye, you know, I'm going. And they were all weeping. My mother said, where are you going? I had just graduated from college, and I was sort of the hope for the family. You know, if I stayed with the family, they could have had, you know, many more worldly possessions, because nobody else in my family went to college, even though there was 5 kids. And so everyone were looking to me. She's the one who's going to, and I did have some, you know, very prosperous jobs and all before I got to Ananda, but I dropped it. And I said, I'm going to Ananda now. And my mother says, where is that? And I told her where it was. I lived in California, Ananda was in California. I just knew in my heart I had to go. And she said, what is Ananda? What does it even mean? I said, Mom, all I know is Ananda means joy. And I have to go there. And my little brothers and sisters, don't go, don't go, don't go to Ananda. And I said, I have to go. And now, it's a hard topic, but now my whole family's blessed from my life. What a blessing. Last thing I'll tell you, so you don't cry, is that at the very end of my time there in California, Swamiji, he met my mother. It's a hard story, but I'm trying not to cry. So my mother for like 12 years kept saying, this is your home, this is your family, this is your job. And I said, that's not. I have to go. And so my mom and I were at the back of the talk of Swamiji's. And for all these years she kept saying, get away from Ananda, don't go there. And I said, I love Ananda. So one day, there was a talk by somebody in Ananda, and Swamiji wasn't giving the talk. I was sitting in the back with my mom. I tried to, come on, Mom. So we're sitting in the back row, and who walks in? Swamiji. And he sits right by my mother. And I went, wow, this is great. So then after the talk, I think it was Jyotish and Devi or somebody gave a talk. After the talk, everybody gets up and they're leaving, and Swamiji goes right to my mother. Hello. He takes her hand, he says, I'm Swami Kriyananda. And she's, all the things she had said about him before, she had to swallow her pride. All the years, and then he's in her face. And she says, yes, I know. And then he says something, I don't know, about my being at Ananda. And my mother says, I'll never even believe she said these words. She's looking at Swamiji, and he's saying what the Dhyanas at Ananda, blah, blah, blah. She looks at him, and she says to Swamiji, I'm on the path too. I went, what? I can't believe it. And he said to her, I know. That was the blessing. And when I put my mother on the plane, or whichever way it was, she put me on the plane, she looked at me and she said, this was some years after the early days of Ananda, she said, stay on the path, because I'm just behind you. Now what mother is going to say that? This is what it takes. You just give it all to Divine Mother and say, I'm here for you, whatever. Your family is blessed, your job is blessed, your health is blessed. The Master said 7 generations front and back of you, all your family, relatives are all blessed. One person seeking God, seeking the light, seeking the truth, can bring hundreds, if not thousands, like Swamiji, millions of people to the divine goal. That's why we have to let go of who we are, because that's not who we are. We came to shine the light in this world and let people come into that light. That's the message of the Masters, it's the message of Swamiji, it's the message of the Gita, it's the message of all the scriptures. Let us live that and feel a divine presence always. I'm going to read a story from my friend, just a short paragraph. Aman, would you stand up, Aman? This is Dr. Harpreet's son, and he's a great soul. He wrote something that I asked him to come today. He said he was studying for his exams, but I'm sure you're going to pass, just like Guruji passed his exam. I want to read what he wrote. Thank you. Says, I'll just read a part of it. You see this book. And this is his Ananda Sangha book. I think everybody should have a book like this. And he came to some classes and he wrote something about his time. I'll just read a very brief excerpt. He starts off with Jai Guru. Today in the morning, around 9:30 a.m., I and Papa went to the Ananda Center to attend a satsang in the health class. The Ananda Center was in the community center of DLF Phase 2. As I entered the community center, I felt a layer of energy surrounding me as the Earth's energy. The Earth is surrounded by the ozone layer. I felt positivity and spiritualness inside the core of my heart. As I climbed the stairs, the energies and the positivity were growing stronger and stronger with every step of the stairs. I wondered, from where were those energies coming? And as I reached the first floor, I came to know the source of the energies, and that was the beautiful, positive sculptor, the Murti of Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, I felt I had obtained the energies from the sculptor, what he's really saying, from Guruji. Till now, with all the talks, I have learned that Paramahansa Yogananda was a very positive, spiritual, simple, and a hard-working saint. He was filled with spiritual energies and supernatural powers. His eyes, including the third eye, are like a blissful paradise. And if we look carefully in his eyes, we can see the whole of the universe. The remembrance and his blessings will always be with us and always be in our thoughts. Om Shanti Shanti. Let's meditate just a moment.